Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Google Plus Week, our unofficial look at the world's coolest social network. Our guest tonight is Linda Lawrey. She's a fellow Virginian, a good friend of mine, and a prolific poster on Google Plus. She was an early adopter of Google Buzz and then came over to Google Plus, where she's one of the most popular people on the social network. I think just yesterday I was looking and she was closing in on 350,000 followers, and today I think she's at about 365,000. So it's obviously you, Linda, you have experienced the McDermott bump. I'm just kidding. Um,
I knew I had to blame it on somebody.
and for a lot of folks, you'll in a month or so you'll have 500,000 followers. Most folks have never heard your voice before. So introduce yourself, Linda.
I'm Linda Lawrey. It's actually pronounced Lawry,
Lori. Okay.
L-A-W, like law, and then Ree.
All
And
right.
nobody pronounces it correctly, and it doesn't bother me one way or the other.
And I realized I didn't have my
I
PC.
married that name.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here, and the reason I wanted you on was because I have some questions, and I know our viewers would have some questions about you personally and about what it's like to be in your position with so many folks following you and how that's affected you and that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I'm curious about, and I've just lost my list of questions. But the first thing I wanted to ask you, as I searched for them, was to just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved and excited about Google Buzz initially, and then now Google Plus.
Okay, I'm a wife, a mom, a little bit of an IT tech, a big geek, and a housewife. And that's about it. I'm just an average Google Plus user, just like everybody else on there. I was heavily involved in another social network, not Facebook, but another one. And I was admin to some of the support groups there and started a few other support groups there and really was there for several years. But the writing was on the wall that something was changing. They were sort of dressing the bride for a sale, and I knew that the social network was going to change, and I had a feeling not in a direction that I wanted to go. So I had heard about Google Buzz, and I honestly can't remember if I was invited in, or I just don't remember the initial Buzz system, whether I was invited in or whether I snuck in. I have no idea how I got in, but I was there early. And and then from there, the changes that were taking place, they were all positive changes for Google Buzz. But in the meantime, I think Google Plus was in the works right around that same time. So Google Buzz was, in my opinion, the foundation, and a lot of people's opinions that were from Google Buzz. It was a foundation to build on for Google Plus.
So really, Google
So
Buzz was looked at not as a failure, but not as the success, or perhaps as a failure, but really, it was a tremendous learning experience for them.
it was a tremendous learning experience for the users, and there were a lot of users, and it was very, very active. It was as active to me, and I followed a lot of people there, as Google Plus is for me. And it was the same thing. Nothing's going on over here. I don't know anybody, and it was like I couldn't keep up with my stream, and it's because people were following. You look at their profile and they're following 8 people. No, your stream's not going to move. What are the odds against you being there at the same time the 8 people are there and all of you are posting at the same time? The odds were against it. You had to follow a lot of people. So that was a learning experience that just carried right over to Google Plus.
Do you think we've wrestled with this? The hardest question I have, and we're both big Google Plus fans, and we're both power users, I guess. Everyone in this show is, but what the heck is it? It's not really a social network, but it is. It's a aggregation network. It's a blog platform. A lot of folks have. I think Robert Scoble famously said he was going to start originating a lot of content here and on his blog less. How would you define that? I mean, it's a hard question to answer, isn't it? What exactly is Google Plus?
Oh, no, Google, to me, my opinion, it is a social component to all of Google's other services, which may or may not be their intention. I think it was their intention all along. It's a social component to the web as well. You see plus ones on all these articles now, and in fact, the sites that don't have them, I'll go get the story somewhere else because it's easier to share it from somewhere else than, and then the little share feature under it. So it's a social component to all of their other services, and it's integrating them very well. I'd like to see more of their other services, docs and things like that, integrated as well as YouTube is. It auto populates the video when you post it in. Um, Google Music auto populates the, listen now thing. And I think eventually, I think all their services are going to be just integrated even more fantastic than they already are.
It seems like they're really going slow as they innovate, and some of the things, some of the decisions that they made early on were really cool. But okay, when it first started out, there were all these stories. Google Plus takes on Facebook, goes for the jugular, the Facebook killer. Is it a Facebook killer, or is it something entirely different, and there's room for both?
There's no such thing as a Facebook killer. Facebook was here first. Just, it is what it is. They'll have their growth spurts, and then they'll have their where they stagnate for a little while, and then they'll grow again, like they've done all these years. Um, there's no Google killer, and there is now no Google Plus killer. It is all going to coexist. There will be people who will need to use both for what they do online and what they need it for online. And then there are people that will do more in one place than the other. There are people that will not go to Facebook. They're happy on Google Plus. There's people on Facebook that are not comfortable with change, or so they won't come to Google Plus.
One of the complaints people have is that all their friends aren't on Google Plus, but they are on Facebook. You have basically deserted and are not a Facebook user now. Do you ever find that to be a disadvantage when you have an aunt or an uncle or a niece or someone who's using Facebook but isn't on Plus, and it's an inability to communicate on a social network level with them?
No, because I communicate with them outside of a social network. I don't need a social network for family and friends. A social network to me, what it does is it gives me the ability to step out of family, offline life, and have an online relationship with people that I'll never meet. I'll never end up in Germany or, you know, other countries that I can become friends with or associates with or whatever online. And that's what I use it for. I enjoy the people I meet there, and on Google Plus and previously on Google Buzz that have come over. But I don't have to have a family only kind of social network. There's a lot of walled gardens out there I could use that for, and it wouldn't even have to be Facebook. um, I don't need it. Some people might. I don't.
One of the other things, you're on the recommended user list, and I think that's a great call because you're very popular and you interact so much with people. But you're closing in on 400,000 followers now. There was some. First of all, let me ask you this.
Hmm.
The first question is on the recommended user list. That was controversial when it came out. Clearly their goal was for new people coming in who may or may not be technical or familiar at all with Google Plus. Naturally, they wouldn't be if they're brand new users. They wanted to recommend some users, and it could be famous celebrities or Google famous Google people, the founders, etc. And you were among them, and they just felt that you were someone that they recommended that you follow because the content was compelling. Their goal is to get some people that to get a new person to circle some people that they think will get that new person interested and stay on the service. Robert Scoble famously asked to be taken off the recommended user list, and
Hmm.
because there was sort of this haves and have-nots. If you know somebody, you're on it. If you don't know somebody, you're not. And then there was I don't want to get into this particular story, but because I don't know all the facts, but there was this one user who said he got death threats because he posted controversial things and was on the recommended user list and had hundreds of thousands of followers, and then deleted all his posts, and that's a whole thing. What are your
Hmm.
thoughts on the whole recommended user list?
I believe the original intent was, and the complaint was, people come over and then they have nothing to look at. They have no stream. And this gave them the ability to find people who posted regularly and were active. I looked at the original when I first found out about it, and I didn't find out about it right away. I eventually saw the link, didn't know I was on there, did not know the way it was set up. It actually looks better now than it did originally, but it was to give people a stream to look at. Without a stream, you land there and there's nothing to see when you click on stream, even if you haven't set up circles yet. And this gave people the ability to see content, to see something flowing down their page when they first got there. So it was a necessary. well, I can't even call it necessary evil. It was necessary. Most social networks do have some kind of a recommendation so that when people first join, they have something to look at so that they can see kind of what's going on and watch how other people use it so that they understand that, oh, there's pictures in this post. Oh, there's that little thing I can add pictures or videos or whatever. So it gave them something to look at. And that, to me, it was necessary. I didn't know I was on it initially. When I saw I was on it, I was flattered. You know, of course I was flattered. Um, I figured I was on there because I was so active. And the initial field testing and all that a lot of people did when they first got in there, like I did, is to work out a few bugs, you know, to work out a few and send the feedback. We sent tons and tons of feedback to Google, and Google looked at every bit of it as far as if something wasn't working right, or if we had, or if anybody had suggestions. And there was a lot of people in there doing all of that. So then I don't know, later on I went over there because I needed some more tech people to follow and I thought I'd see who was on there. And I didn't see myself on there. So I figured, okay, I've rotated off. They're rotating people around. Didn't think any more about it, followed some more tech people and looked at the other ones. And it was months later before I found out I was on there, still on there or on there again. Um, but now I've noticed when I go there to look for people to follow, you can't see yourself. If you're on the list, you can't see yourself. But Scoble had real good reasons for not wanting to be on there because there are advantages and disadvantages to being on there. The advantages are that you get to meet new great people interested in what you're interested in. The disadvantages are that, you know, the alphabet soup names that end up being spammers come in and they're going to circle everybody on there because that's their initial spamming people until they find other people. So that's who they know to go ahead and start spamming.
Also, with
And
Scoble, he will monopolize your stream, admittedly so. And I joked with him because TechCrunch did an article when they introduced the volume slider, um, and someone in one of the comments referred to it as the Scoble slider. You know,
I never got that. Never
it,
got that because Scoble did not post often. He had popular posts.
correct, and people don't know how to use the mute button, like as
Right.
you said.
That's
But
all they
I
had to
joked
do.
with him, and he laughed. I mean, he thought it was funny that they said that, and he's the first one to admit that if you don't mute his post, he gets so many comments on there that he will, flood your stream, even though he's only posting 2 or 3 times a day, and so that is
Or
a problem. And
you
but
got
if
to
people,
follow someone other than him, or he's the only one you're going to see in your circle.
well, exactly, and but not everyone is interested in tech stuff or business stuff
Right.
that he writes about.
Oh,
You
but that's not all he does. That's what I've noticed. You know, I know that he said that, you know, he's going to do more blogging on Google Plus than he has. But he puts up. I think I've seen pictures of his kids. I've seen personal,
right?
you know, just personal comments or something, nothing to do with tech, nothing to do with Google Plus. So you get an insight into him as a person that you don't get in a tech forum or a tech environment or maybe even on his, you know, tech type blogs and stuff that he contributes to. So,
Plus the amazing interviews he does with these innovators that you don't otherwise get to see, and he'll sit down and it's not a chopped up 3 minute segment on Fox Business. It's a 40 minute, 30 minute, 20 minute real in depth
right.
interview with these guys. It's really terrific content. How do you handle? I just looked. I think you're at 366,000 people. I think you've gotten a thousand or more in the last hour that I checked. Um, this is insane. How do you possibly? And I know I've seen some hysterical comments from folks, and that's a whole thing.
That's
Uh,
another
and
topic.
I know you have a whole secret thing you'll be announcing at some point in the next few weeks, but that's just a little tease there. How
I
do you
do.
manage? I mean, I can barely handle. Like, I took a shower, and came back, and I had 16 notifications. You probably, grab a cup of coffee and come back and have 30. How do you? But you engage a lot. You rarely miss anything that I send you. I know we're friends, so you probably look for my stuff maybe more than a stranger. But how do you manage all those notifications? How do you handle this?
Because I don't get notifications from whatever the number was you said 350,000, whatever it is that now. I don't get notifications from all of them. I don't I only get notifications from those that I circle. You know, that's a setting you can choose. And I've got it set for my extended circles, but I don't get any notification. I can't. I haven't you know, that's a setting that I don't get. Before that new setting was released, they could notify me. They could put up a post and add me. They could do and a circle of, I haven't even circled them back, and I get all these notifications. And Google fixed that. We used to call it post spam because I was getting notifications of people singing on YouTube, and I didn't know them from Adam, and I wasn't even circling them and things like that. So you know, Google took care of that problem. So I don't have to handle 400,000 people that are they're looking at me. I'm not looking at them. I mean, of the 400,000, I can only circle and have to manage the number that I circle back or that I circle that haven't even circled me. So I don't have to manage them. They manage themselves just like I manage myself, and I've circled people that are high in numbers. They're not circling me back, and they don't have to manage me. They don't have to get notifications from me.
And how
So
many hours a day do you spend on Google Plus?
it varies because if I have to, I try. The Google Plus minute thing, that time space continuum that Google Plus just sucks you into when you're going to go on there for 10 minutes, and it's 2 hours later. But I try to peek in the morning, and then I have things to do that are away from a computer, whether they're at home or whether I have to go out. And then there are other times when I'm on a computer, a different computer, working on it and doing it, and I've got Google Plus over in the corner, and I've got to sit there and wait on this computer, wait on this, wait on this, back over, so I can't gauge it. There are times, I think it was a couple of weeks, I was lucky to get on by 9 o'clock at night, and by 11, my eyes are just falling. I mean, I was doing more reading and plussing. I wasn't commenting because I couldn't, life, those 2 weeks was in a different, I was in a different place during that time of what was going on.
My
So it just varies. I
my
know I'm up and down from my computer all day long when I am around it. So I have 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there.
I know I got two questions here that are kind of one question. You have admittedly toned down a little bit. You behave
You
yourself
there?
a little more, maybe.
I'm
Um,
sorry, I
ca-
lost what part of what you just said. Say it again.
uh, you have admittedly toned down a little bit um, from the wild days of Google Buzz. And do you ever find yourself, first of all, do you censor yourself sometimes? You've had some posts with, I think you have one I saw recently, 1,300 shares roughly. Millions of people saw that post,
That was the
and
butt post, right?
that was the butt post, right? Um, and we'd all like to complain about your blatant
Not
use
my
of,
butt. Not
not
my
but
butt.
hang on, I've got um, a Virginia stink bug just landed on me again. Um, but do you censor yourself when before you click send? Before I mean, when you first started here, you probably had one follower, then five, then 10, 50,000. Do you ever get nervous before you send something, thinking this is potential millions of people will read this? I don't want to. What impact does that have? Is that a bad thing or a good thing?
I've been posting publicly for so long, other than personal things. I may post something about my family or something. I post that strictly to my circles. I don't need I don't need those posts to go on Twitter because I am feeding my Google Plus over to Twitter too, and that's public. So my public posts on Google Plus go to Twitter, and that's public. So the only thing I try to watch the profanity, keep it in check somewhat, but I also try to I think twice more on a reshare than a share because on the I see something that's really funny, but I know that if I reshare it, I'm going to get comments. I don't feel want to sit there moderating those comments because it's a little bit towards sexual in nature. It's funny. It's funny as hell, but it doesn't mean that I want to be able to have to sit there and just start refreshing and removing comments that are just over the top and out of order.
Can you tell me about a specific post that you almost sent out, but you stopped yourself? You said, "I can't do this."
Um,
Now we're
Not
getting to the good,
one.
juicy stuff here.
I know. No, it's ones like that, and they were usually reshares. Because I follow some great people that post some great stuff. I mean, I circle them. I mean, and they just, and some of it is funny, but it's not something people would expect to see from me. And it's something I'd have to moderate. And I mean, I moderate my comments, but I don't want to babysit a thread all day. I've got other things to do when I'm up and down. And so you know, I really can't think of anything I've really had to stop myself on other than I have to think, no, I better not do that because I'm gonna have to sit here and babysit this post, and I'm not gonna do it today.
You ever had a post you regret?
Yes, but it was on Google Buzz. Um, I was I meant to post it privately to people that I had in over there followers or circles or whatever they want to call them, whatever they were called over there. They weren't called circles. And I meant for it to go to them, and I wanted to ask about someone who had just followed me because I just want to know, do you know who they are? Or who they think they are? Because I thought their profile was very misleading about their relationship with Google. And I wasn't sure, and I posted it. The minute I posted it, I realized I did it publicly. They could see it. Everybody could see it. It's like, oh my God. And I immediately deleted it. Um, and that taught me a lesson. I pay attention now. And it's harder to make that mistake on Google Plus than it was Buzz. For whatever reason, it is harder.
Um, what
I've
uh,
never,
what questions do you get asked the most? Question or questions?
who are you? That's been the question lately is who are you? And I don't know really how to answer that. How do I say I'm a Google Plus user and that's it? You know, how many times can you say it? How many ways can you say it? I don't have a blog. I don't have that I go over and blog and then post here and I don't run over to friend feed and I don't monetize anything. I'm just a Google Plus user and that's it. And, they seem to think that the numbers mean I'm someone other than that and I'm not.
You probably are the most successful straight up Google Plus user. I mean,
Oh,
you're
there's
not
pl-
Britney Spears. You're not a CEO. You're a CEO. I mean, I can't think of anyone who has more followers that basically just is a Buzz pop power user and now a Google Plus power user.
The numbers don't mean anything though. You've seen that. If you go through the list of who has circled me, because there's so many, I don't see all the notifications. I try to go through there and get rid of anybody that's got they're using a personal profile for something other than they should. They're using it as a business, they're using it to comment spam, their business name, things like that. That I will go in and block it you know, so they can't do that to me at least. But, a lot of them are lurkers. A lot of them have no profile pictures. A lot of them do participate. A lot of them speak another language and they struggle to participate in my posts. And I'm grateful that they're trying. Thank God for the translate. I try honestly to translate. I don't say, "Oh, you have to post in English." No, if you're sitting there talking about pictures are beautiful and you say it in some other language and the translate add-on that I have for Chrome from Google translates it, that comment's going to stay. Um, Sometimes it translates to something it shouldn't, maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, and I'll remove it. I don't say a word. I don't call them out. I just remove it because if I see it translated as something it shouldn't, that's not appropriate, then someone else is going to hit translate and see the same thing. So.
The next question is kind of a bad question, but a lot of people are wondering this. Sometimes, like you did this post with a picture of a big booty, and I don't think the post was related to the booty picture.
No, it
Um,
was. It was actually a joke about the uh, what was it? It was the one where there was in the background. There's a car. There's a dog driving the car. How many people noticed
oh,
this? How
right,
many
right,
women noticed
yeah.
that? Yeah.
Now you
And
knew that was going to go viral, correct?
no, I did not. It was something someone sent me in an email, and I thought it was funny.
It was
And I
funny.
just, yeah, and I almost, that is one I almost thought, I kept looking at that picture and seeing, is this too risque of a picture? Because even though she had clothes on and a thong under, it was a little much for what I put out there. But I thought the whole thing was kind of funny, and I'm still getting notifications on that. I mean, not,
It's
it's,
over. I think it's 1290 or something or 13 something by now. It's crazy.
I don't know
Millions of
what it
people
is.
will have seen that. And what's the secret to my theory? I'm interviewing you. But my theory, briefly, is um, I what I do is I find something that interests me, catches my attention, and I'm
Uh-huh.
interested, as you know, in technology and politics and news, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not partisan stuff, just interesting stuff. And then I think like,
Mm-hmm.
well, is this something that my that other people would find interesting as well, and they may not know, and then I'll share that. and I'll try to do a witty comment or something. Um, but some people are curious, what is the secret to a post that folks will share or get a lot of comments? What have you noticed that works and what doesn't work?
It is so different day to day. It depends on who's there, who's looking, when they're there, when you're there, when someone comments and bumps it up. I don't have a definition for that. The only thing I can subscribe to is I post what I find is interesting or funny or relevant, or in a lot of cases warnings about things that are going on in social networks, or all that can compromise a computer and passwords and things like that. But I'm not a big sports fan. NFL and NASCAR are the only two I've ever paid attention to, and not that much in a long time. But I know I still find a lot of the sports stories interesting, and I know I have at least one great sports fan that's a friend of ours on there, me and my husband's, and so I'll post that up and I'll make sure I mention him so he sees it when he gets on there, or ask him if he sees it. Normally he's seen it before I did. He's that good. He's that into sports, but I still post it. But it may not mean a whole lot to me, but the story's interesting.
What is the that's my last question, and then I've got a couple that people submitted, and then I'm going to throw it to the room. Um,
Mm,
but what is you're a wife, you're a mother, you just had a beautiful granddaughter. Um,
uh-huh.
what does your
Another
family
one.
think? Another grand daughter. What does your family think of your, for lack of a better term, your internet fame?
Infamy. um,
You
my
were infamous on Buzz, but you're
Yeah,
behaving yourself up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But
yeah.
how do
No.
they deal with this? Do they laugh it off, or are they impressed, or what?
First of all, I don't consider it like fame. I'm very fortunate. I'm very lucky, um, and very grateful to have the medium to enjoy, to have a social network that I'm comfortable with and I enjoy. It doesn't, the numbers, like I said, don't matter. And everybody's going to say, oh, well, you got the numbers. You can say that. Honestly, I don't, all those numbers don't engage with me. You know, it's a core group that normally get around to reading some of my stuff when they get around to it, and they may or may not have a comment, they may or may not have a plus. I'll find out later they read it and didn't even engage on the post. But my kids aren't on a social network at all. I've got three kids, and none of them are on a social network. They may have at one time created something somewhere and they forgot it. They don't even know their password because they are so busy outside and away from computers in their employment and the things that they're doing, that they don't have the time. I have the time because of the work I do, which is based around computers, and they don't have the opportunity. Um, my daughter, who just had her new baby, that's the last thing she wants to do is turn on a computer. All she wants to do is nap when the baby naps. So, and then when the baby's not napping, she's got two in diapers now. So, they're just not there. And so my husband's on Google Plus. Um, we post totally different things. He hasn't posted in a while because he's been busy, but he posts pictures and funny things and stays doesn't he sends me links to tech articles because he knows I'm going to post about it. But he's a bigger, tech head than I am. He is like Uber, and we talk. It gives us, it's what we talk about. But he doesn't post about it.
You're very lucky
So,
that you both are interested in technology, because I don't know if the relationship would have worked otherwise.
mm.
um,
Now he's a sports fan, and it's like when you've got back-to-back football games, and he comes in and he tells me what's going on, and I'm going, oh yeah, okay, uh-huh. It's like I don't know who he was just talking about.
when my sister Kelly married her husband Bob, she said she wasn't aware of the significant role that football would play in their marriage. I think that's the way it is for a lot of folks. Okay, a couple submitted questions. Jerry Johnson, good guy, um, asked from Synchronized Claims Services, said, "How will Google utilize the G Plus platform to maximize their Android smartphone presence beyond the sale of ads?" Interesting
You
question.
see, and that's something I can't answer because I'm not privy to the secret going on of what Google's doing or what Google Plus is doing. I'm just not privy to that information. Some people On Google Buzz, they actually thought I worked for Google, and I had to dispel that rumor because I was big. I was a promoter of Google Buzz, but I didn't work for Google, so that's not information that I have. I have no idea what to look for in the future as far as that goes.
Okay, I would think the obvious thing is the integration of services. Like if you have an Android phone, it automatically uploads your pictures, and you can get them on Google Plus, so it kind of steers you in that direction. And as you
Well,
said, it's
that's happening now. Yeah,
right. It's all about the integration of all the Google services under this umbrella.
right.
Emmanuel, can you help me? Is this someone you know?
I don't.
Okay, how do? Oh, this is kind of a tech support question. How does Emmanuel Bayero? How does one manage that the contacts from Google Plus are not synced on my mobile phone? See, this is the thing. See, you're,
Aren't
you
synced.
are not synced. I have 800 or more contacts with pictures, and then this slows my phone down dramatically. I've tried to find some info on this, but without success. What I've done so far was to delete each picture manually by hand. Boy, that's it. I don't think that's within the scope of our
And if it,
interview.
well, no,
Or
actually,
do you have an idea?
what I found first, I found out that I had, all the people that I was circling was bogging my phone down as far as contacts go. So I had to hunt around, and I Googled, couldn't find the answer on Google actually when I Googled it. But and the Android operating system on a phone, there is a learning curve. You do have to just click on everything. And what I did was I happened to find where I can choose which contacts to sync, or at least that's what I thought I was doing, syncing just certain contacts to my phone. Um, Almost like labels in Gmail. You can choose which labels to sync to your phone in Gmail. But someone told me you're still syncing them all. So I don't know. But once I changed what was syncing to my phone, and I don't have my phone in front of me right now to figure it out, but I'll try to figure that out and put a post up about it. But that's what I did. I changed what shows on my phone to me, and it's not all of my contacts. It's
Okay.
not. It's like going to your contact groups and choosing what your phone is going to show you, and that worked for me. That stopped my problem right there. So what it shows me is it shows me my favorites, it shows me my email contacts, uh, but it doesn't show all my Google Plus contacts.
All right. I know you had some questions you wanted to ask me, but first I want to see if anybody in the room has any. I guess Oleg, did you have anything you were curious about to ask Linda?
Are you sure you're done with all your questions now? I just want to make sure first.
I put
Yeah, I
them to sleep.
had. I am done. I had a list of questions.
Yeah, basically the question I have, Linda, and thank you very much for joining us today and answering all of Dan's questions. Um, the question I had was, you said that you're only, dealing with people who are in your, who are in your circles, basically, in terms of replying and responding, which is, makes a lot of sense. But I was wondering, how actively are you adding people to your circles? I mean, are you doing this actively or not?
Actively.
Okay, so
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, just this was just basically part of the question. So if you're adding people actively, then my follow-up question is, then you end up dealing with a lot more traffic that you need to deal with, because if you're only dealing with your circles, but you keep adding more and more to your circles, it seems like you have more and more people to deal with, don't you?
I have the maximum that you can have is 5,000, and I probably have 4,999 right now.
I see.
Because I actually, when I want to go to add someone to a circle, I actually have to go in and clean somebody out to make room now. But to manage your circles, circles are for reading, not for posting too. So if you have good circle management, we're all a little lax on that. I know I am. I need to do some reorganization again, but I have a lot of circles and I put them in like I have a photography circle, and I don't have to look at anything 200 photographers have posted and are posting prolifically until I'm ready to go over and look at that and look for something I want to reshare that just blows me away.
Sure.
So circles are for reading,
Mm-hmm.
not for and that's how you manage them.
I see.
You can create, I believe, if I remember correctly, you can create as many circles as you want. So I have
Right.
a tech circle, social media circle. I have one that I have Googlers in. I have I had now. If there's someone I don't want to miss what they post, no matter what they post. I put them in every circle. That way they're going to show up one way, no matter which, because circles are like a filter. I never ever sit on the word stream. Never. The
Hmm.
minute my, stream starts loading, I click on the very top circle and work
Sure.
my way down.
Okay.
Okay, but you do put people in multiple circles though.
I have, yes. Oh, absolutely. I put my husband in several because I was missing his post. I gave him his own circle and I still was missing what he was posting. So I had to stick him in all my circles.
That's interesting that
Yeah.
you would manage it that way. You would. That's a good tip.
But
Because
you're
I
saying
t-
you never post. Sorry, Dan. You
Go
already
ahead.
your questions are over. You haven't
What?
you haven't actually posted to you don't post normally to people that are in your circles when you're looking at a circle.
When I don't, when I have to, no, when I post
Hmm.
publicly, it's publicly. If I post to circles at all, it's to all of them, just all my circles. I don't just post to the tech people. I don't just post to the social media people. Because, first of all, it happens. We miscategorize people because they don't. I like having on someone's profile. What do you want me to put you? For reading purposes. It's not because I'm going to post to you and shove things at
Yeah,
you.
that
It's
makes
because I want
sense.
to know
Okay.
where I can go read. Where can I go read your tech articles? What filter? And that's what they are. Circles are filters. And if you, like I said, create 20 of them and work your way down. You're not going to, if you've got 4,000,
Sure.
5,000 people in a circle, you're not going to see what everybody does, and you're not going to see everything.
Sure.
But you're going to get a good. You'll always have fresh content. Even with reshares, where something goes viral and you may see it a few times, the more you circle, the more you'll enjoy the whole experience, and that's what I have found. The only thing I don't like, and I have made the suggestion um, to Natalie through feedback a couple of times. Please don't make me dump my pages that I've circled, because I feel like as much as I enjoy the pages that are up there, I think the people are more important. And if I have to get rid of anything, I'm gonna start dumping pages now, not people.
Well, Pages. I mean, my solution to Pages was you just set up another circle called Google Pages, and so you
Right.
basically kind of deal with Pages as their own a separate entity.
But
That's how I did
but
it.
the pages count against your quota. The pages count against the quota of 5,000.
No,
So
but
if you
5,000 is 5,000 the limit on all your circles or just individual
total
people?
at 5,000 is total how many people you can
Oh, okay.
circle. It is also the total number of people you can have in any given circle.
Right.
Like if
Well, but
you know,
okay, but still, it's a total. If you have two circles with 2,500, you're done basically.
you're done until you clean somebody out. And one of the early recommendations, I haven't seen it mentioned in a while, is when you first circle new people that look like they're interesting, they look like they're posting and that sort of thing, is some people called it the lobby circle, where you create a lobby and you bring new people into that lobby, um, to give them, to see if it's someone you want to continue to circle and hang with, whether they circle you or not. And then if for any reason you do get to a point like I have, that's the first circle you go to, because you haven't, as you get to know them, you move them out of the lobby, you move them up to a friend or up to another named circle. Whereas if they're still in the lobby after several months and somebody's got to go, you're going to head to the lobby circle first.
Yeah.
And then you look around and go, well, he hasn't posted in 3 months. Why is that? Why am I even still, got him here? And you dump him and put somebody that's active. So
So you
that's
just
just
yeah. So you
that's
just took
just
the
one of
guy
the
who had a
things.
horrible accident and in the hospital. You just took him out. Gotcha.
Well, somebody that's just not posting and I'm there to read.
Well, that's why, because he was in an accident. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Um,
he'll come back. If he comes back, that's great. I'll find
yeah.
him, or he'll
What's
find
your
me.
what's your feeling on and my last question, and I'll turn it over to other folks because I'm not Dan. What's your policy with reshares? How do you feel about reshares?
Oh, I reshare as much as if I like it, I reshare it. The only thing I don't like about resharing, I can reshare something and I can put my comment up top that might include an important link to read also,
Right?
that's relevant. But if anyone reshares from me that reshare, my whole comment is gone. So if I put something that's relevant, that they need to carry over if they reshare from me instead of the original post. I always say be sure and carry this link with your reshare.
Sure. Do you
But
recognize publicly who you reshared it from or not?
oh yeah, if I yeah oh yeah I try to always do a hat tip or a or via
Yeah.
if I were to see you did a reshare and I was going to reshare it. Well, I want to give you credit because you showed it to me. I might not even be circling the other person, would have never seen it otherwise. So
Right.
I try to do that. The one thing I don't like, I've only had it a few times, thankfully. I'll post something up. It'll either be a reshare or it'll just be something I read about and wanted to put up. And someone will pop in and say, be sure and give this person credit because they posted this same link 3 minutes before you did. Number
Hmm.
one, I don't know them. Number two, I never saw them do it. And so what? you
Yeah. Right. No, I
know?
totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
One
And
last. Yep.
mhm. Go ahead.
No, I'm just gonna make one last comment, not a question, and it's more directed towards Dan. He said he's a very good friend of yours.
Uh-huh.
Considering Christmas just went by, I think webcam was owed by Dan to you as a gift.
Well,
That's it.
actually, I have several computers, and some of them here have webcams and some don't. But my husband just built me a brand new, powerful desktop, and it's this one doesn't have a built-in webcam to it. That's all.
In that case, Dan, you need to get you one of these new. I think I don't know. It's called like 920 from Logitech, which is HD webcam. Should be really slick for this.
We'll get our
Oh yeah,
lights and the whole set, the whole deal.
Just this, no, no, just the webcam.
I
Anyways,
was.
thank you, Linda. I
Thank
appreciate your
you.
answers, and
Thank
I'll turn it
you.
over to the rest of the folks. Thank you.
All right, let's get Alan, Priz. You want to fire away?
Sure, I wanted to welcome Linda to our motley crew here, first of all. But one question that I think I have is what sorts of features do you think Google Plus really needs, both to help you and to help other people in their enjoyment of the environment?
Believe it or not, it's a few Google Buzz features that haven't come over yet. One in particular is in Google Buzz. I love this, especially in a very long thread where you've got 100 comments. Every comment in Google Buzz, you know how well, some people aren't aware, the date time stamp on a post is also the permalink. All right. Well, in Google Buzz, every comment's date time stamp was a permalink to the comment. I could post a I could post the permalink to any comment in a long thread and say, "Hey, look what this guy just said about this topic." And when people clicked on it, it would take them somewhere in the middle of that thread, right on the comment that I just posted the link to. And I miss that. I really do. I have put it through into feedback a few times and mentioned how much I miss it, but that's one of them. And the other one, not so much. It used to be that you could post a link at Google Buzz that ended in .mp3. You could store a music file somewhere, and when you posted that link in Google Buzz, it put up an audio player instead of
Yeah,
a YouTube video player. I kind of miss that a little
I
bit.
missed that too.
Oh, you remember that?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember it.
I miss that. But and there was another Google Buzz feature, and I can't remember what it was now. So there's a few things from Google Buzz. People did not realize how powerful Buzz really was. Even people that were there, they were still discovering the permalinks at the date time stamps on things because it wasn't obvious. But that's basically the one I'm really, really pushing for right now is because that would help. I really like being able to refer to a really good comment in another post, but if it's in the middle of 200 comments, I just can't lead people over there. There's no way to get them to, unless I take a screenshot of it, post the screenshot, and then do a lot of explaining. So I'd like to see that come back or come over.
I would
And
too.
and since this is a question that's going to come up in later discussion, and since Oleg pointed out that you don't seem to have a webcam tonight, um, how many Hangouts have you been in, and what do you think of the Hangout feature as part of Google Plus?
I've been in a couple. I've been in a couple with audio only. depending upon what computer I was on, and I've been in one or two with video, and I'm trying to get my son, actually, he lives several hours from me, and he's wanting to do the old, some kind of, he has an iPhone, I have an Android phone, and we're trying to figure out how can we do this face-to-face thing, and I know if I can get him onto Google on his, I think he's got an iPad now, but I figure we can work it out. I've just got to walk him through it, um, as far as doing that. But audio or video, it's like one night I came in, I was in my pajamas. My husband walked in, he said, "You don't have that cam on, do you?" I said, "No." you know, I said, "But it is pajamas." And, he says, "I don't care."
I think they have Skype on iOS, Linda, so you should be able to do Skype with him.
That's what
Yeah.
he suggested, Skype and Uvu, and this was a while back when we first talked about it before.
Right. Those are the two. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was before there was a G Plus app or that you couldn't
For iOS. Yeah.
initiate a Hangout, or you couldn't join a Hangout with a mobile phone, which he has an iPad now. He has a regular no, he's got the one with the cat. That's right, he's got an iPad too. So we're going to figure it out as soon as he can sit down long enough for us to go through all the details over the phone, so I can get him lined up and so that we can do it. And I'm looking forward to that. But as far as using Google Plus for anything other than, that, I don't know that he will. Once he gets in there and finds the Hangout feature, he may just fall in love with the place.
Okay, we had Linda. You're awesome, and I know you're going to stick around. I think with us, but I want to continue our discussion about the Hangouts. Or actually, I'm sorry. You had. Let's do the Hangout thing, and then I know you have some questions you wanted to ask me. Let's do this Hangout thing.
What
Mike
Hangout thing?
Mike Elgin wrote a really good piece. I know that Oleg and Alan, but have read it. I'm not sure if you had a chance to in before the show, but it's basically the premise is that Hangouts are, and we're obviously I'm using one here to connect with folks, but that it's a whole new medium, and I'm calling it a new paradigm, a new way of looking at things. But and he makes the point that as radio and television was sort of a new way to do things, but really this is a whole different thing. It's really democratic, it's accessible, it's free. I wanted to see what you guys think about this and what you could forecast with Hangouts as we go along, because it really is a different thing. I think Oleg, you got a call, so I'm going to shoot to Alan. What do you think,
Well,
Alan?
I read the article, and I was fortunate enough to catch the broadcast that he did with it. You did very well on it, Dan. Um, I think while he raises some interesting points, to be honest, I think he doesn't shoot high enough.
In what
He
way?
What was that?
I was just going to say, in what way? Yeah, elaborate.
Well, he kind of says this is a whole new thing. This is a whole new media, and right now we're kind of treating it like a bunch of talking heads, and in the future we're going to treat it like a different bunch of talking heads. I think he doesn't quite really grasp just how much that it can do, how much it can bring about. He kind of spins it from this is a new form of news. He kind of touches just a little bit on how this is a new form of entertainment. But I think it goes even beyond that. I think that this is just a new way of bringing back together something that's very, very traditional, very, very common. And that's sitting around a campfire and people talking. And people sharing with each other, people sharing stories. This is something that's, I don't know, I kind of get that he almost grasps at it, but he doesn't go far enough. And in not going far enough, he doesn't really identify what's still missing to bring all of that about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Let me, Jonathan Maddox, what are your thoughts on this?
Um, it was on. I was basically gonna try to take it right back to what Linda Lawrey was saying.
Oh, okay. All right, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool. What, Oleg? What do you think? What do you
Uh,
think about the whole?
well, a couple of thoughts. Number one, I would say that, in most of the article, basically, he spells out all the facts about Hangouts. In other words, all the dry specs basically. So most of the article from what I read is he talks about the pretty much specs of what it does currently. And for people who don't know, then of course it's news to them, so it's somewhat useful. But at the same time, there's nothing compelling in saying that necessarily, where he brings it to the point. And I think what Alan was alluding to, which was definitely my feeling as well, was what's happening here is you got a guy like him, which in many ways similar to what you were talking about to Linda, which is Linda. You got all these followers. You must be Larry Page's next door friend because you have so many followers because you know everything that's going on inside. And just because Mike Elgin has a lot of followers and wrote an article doesn't make him necessarily a super expert when it comes to
Well, he's also
understanding
a
the.
no, Mike, who's watching right now.
No, I'm just giving
I'm
you my
just
opinion. I'm
saying
not
that
saying that's the
really,
way
I'm
it
not.
is.
What I'm saying is he wrote this article that Hangouts are beyond just a new
Can I please
innovation in
finish?
communication. That it's the thing. I don't want to. I mean, I didn't think the focus was on. I thought the focus was more on. Do you think Hangouts are a
Right.
whole new
So what I
medium?
was about to say before I got interrupted was that what Alan was saying, which is that the guy doesn't quite get the stuff out there. And I say it because let's not listen to him like the voice of God. I mean, he states his opinion, and I'm saying what's missing, that the reason he's not making that connection that Alan was saying was not there is because things like APIs and new possibilities with Hangouts are not out there in the open just yet. And I think people like Alan firmly understand that, and Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, that it will be a whole new era once these other things come in. But for now, it's nothing more than a Skype with 9 cameras, but it's just a video communication service, and there's only so many things you can say about it. You got a
Well,
webcam, I got a webcam. I can say something, you can say something. Now Alan's going to say something.
I think Oleg has started grasping it. I think the bigger thing though is that what Mike is trying to look at and where Mike is trying to go with it, and where I think he doesn't quite get there yet, is looking at exactly what is it that the technology is bringing us that is different from nine cameras all pointed at Skype. And he kind of hints about, well, we're going to have this recording capability, but what does that mean? And we've got he doesn't mention neat things that Hangouts bring that other video conferencing doesn't, like how the speaker comes up on the screen by default, and what does that mean, and how does that do? And if you're looking at a production later, that automated editor, essentially. I mean, that's a guy in the control room doesn't have to flip cameras now. That's now automated. Uh, how does that technology change? From his perspective, he's saying, how does it change a newsroom? What I would then say is, okay, how does that change a band playing? And how does that change a storyteller who's telling a story? And how does that change a family gathering who's all gathering around on Christmas morning to open presents in 5 different countries? Those are the questions that he doesn't ask.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question isn't so much what are we going to do with this? It's what does the technology do differently that makes that unique and special? And this is where Dan starts saying, hey, it would be great if we had the television with Hangouts. And Dan's right. And Dan, I know that shocks you to hear me say that, but
It would
He's
shock
always
me
right.
more if Oleg said it.
Dan is only wrong when he's wrong. He's always right otherwise.
but Dan's right. The technology isn't quite ubiquitous yet. And when it gets ubiquitous, when it's in the TV, when it isn't just something that we've got to wear headphones to deal with so that we can manage the echoing, when we don't have to worry about all of us have backgrounds except for Dan, who's got a nice custom background, because the technology takes care of that for him. When all of us can do that automatically and cleanly, then we really start to transform this into something different. When we can have a hangout that has people playing instruments in 5 different parts of the world, and they're all playing together, and together it gets recorded, can't do that with Hangouts today. The
They
lag.
have done that. They actually have done
Yeah,
that.
They have, but they had problems with it, and
yeah,
the people
realistically,
involved were
Lord,
all pretty
I
close to
mean,
each other.
yeah, Linda,
That was very early on too. That was
yeah,
very early on in
it's
the
not perfect
service.
from that.
Right, but my point is, these are where it's going, and
Yeah.
when you can do that cleanly, successfully, and it's transformative.
And also, I would add that it's going in that direction, but at the same time, we don't really know. Nobody except for Google knows where they're taking it because they're the ones taking it. So,
Well, I think you're wrong on that point, Oleg, and I don't think Google knows where it's going. I don't.
I think
This,
that's up to the users where we take it
I,
because I have seen it is a powerful tool as it stands right now, if nothing changed. It is an intimidating tool to a lot of people who've never been in front of a camera other
right,
than old movies, when they were kids and they haven't been in front of a movie camera since. It's underutilized right now by the majority. Soon, I do believe, when people see more and more, I've seen cooking shows on Hangouts, I have seen
concerts, yeah,
concerts,
classes. I plan to do classes on it.
classes,
but here's the
language
thing.
classes, and it will become more as it becomes more mainstream, and people it'll go by word of mouth. And Google, you have to admit, we are a social experiment for Google. I mean, now, I don't know if Google has, psychologists and psychiatrists as part of their team watching everything we do. If they don't, they should, because we are going to be the determining factor of where they go. What are we going to need it for? They're going to come up with ideas maybe we didn't think of, but they're going to look. They pay attention. That's Google's strength. They pay attention. And they
Yes,
always have, and they're going to notice what is it that this person meant. Oh, this person needs something, and we could do this, or we could show that it can be done. Just like when they do the Hangout commercials that they did, the Muppets, for instance, and just the other things that you see. They're trying to put the word out, but a lot of it falls on us when we do it and we show it. I saw one where people got together. Someone talked about it actually. They didn't show that as a video or anything, but they talked about how their entire family from different parts of the country or different country, whatever it was, had Christmas morning together. And, that's exciting, but people don't realize yet. A lot of people don't. And like I said, it is so powerful, it's intimidating. And soon it'll be mainstream, Dan, like I am. You know how mainstream I am now, so.
That's an inside joke. Okay, I just got another question here, real quick, from a guy, Pancho Elliott, from Big Pan Cooking, and he wants to know: can you see, for anyone who wants to chime in, can you see Hangouts like this replacing television? If more people can join in, the crowds will want something more personal than television, about things that actually interest you or that kind of thing. Do you see this as competing for time with the big tube?
yes and
Absolutely.
no. No. Also, Alan, come on.
No,
If
absolutely.
when you're looking from a recording standpoint, then of course it'll be just like TV. So if somebody generates decent content, then it'll be just like it, no question there.
Well,
But A, you need to have decent content, number one. Number two, if you're looking for the interactive part, you're only talking 10 people. So that's where it's not going to be like TV because TV doesn't have this limitation.
Well,
that's
TV
going to
also doesn't
change.
have interaction.
I know, but I'm just saying, if you're comparing it directly to TV, yes, you can have a recorded thing that'll be just like TV. But like I said, then you have to have content that looks a lot better than what you look like now.
Yes,
Okay?
and this is what I was speaking to when I said Hangouts moving forward. Currently you've got this guy in the control booth who's flipping between the 10 of us automatically based on who's speaking. In the future, you're going to have that guy in the control booth doing a lot more automatically for you. And when I say that guy in the control booth, I mean the software behind
Right.
Google Plus.
Right. No, you're right about that. But I'm just saying, if you're talking about doing things like advertising and you need to insert different things, if you're trying to kind of do it like TV like, then I'm saying it's a different medium. There's no question, it's a different medium.
Well, you just agreed with Mike. You realize that. I think, though, when we talk about it competing with television, I think it is going to be taking eyeball time, especially when you see things like Hangouts integrated in Google TV, and when you've got, when it makes it so that you can, when your circles become the equivalent of your channel.
Right.
And so you start
Exactly.
flipping between circles to see who's on currently and what they're doing.
No, I think if Google actually implements the concept, of you being able to pick your own channels, as opposed to the baloney right now you get with all these packages from cable companies. They're going to kill the cable industry. I don't have any. It's just like CDs basically were wiped out pretty much by the digital deal, with
Well,
being able to record songs that you want as opposed to the entire CDs. I mean, definitely that's the answer on the TV thing.
I mean, that starts getting to a different topic. But I think what I mean when I say channels is when when it starts getting to the point where I have my music channel, and when
Right.
I flip to the music channel, I'm going to get Daria performing live at that moment because she happens to be performing live. And if there's nothing, if there's nobody from my music circles, i.e., my music channel, currently doing something, I'm not going to see anything. So
No,
I'm
but
going to
I'm
change
talking
the
beyond
channel.
that. I'm talking about HBO having a channel that you can basically subscribe to, which is flowing through Google Plus. Is what I'm talking about.
But well, I'm talking something. I'm saying, what if there is the Daria Musk channel that you subscribe to, and this is, through Google Plus is how Daria starts making direct money, or how Dan starts making a direct money off of this show.
No way unless he starts sharing it. Um,
All right.
Well, you know the big thing right now on television, believe it or not, the moneymaker on television are all of these reality TV shows, and that's exactly what Hangout is. It's getting
Absolutely,
into
exactly.
everyone's living room and their bedroom and their kitchen and their recording studio, and there's your reality TV already
we
on
we got to
Hangout.
remember though where reality TV started. It started. I mean, reality TV got its start from the internet.
Big
That's where it
Brother.
came from in the first place with things like
Right.
Jenny Cam.
Big Brother. Yeah, but Big Brother on television was simulcasted on the internet.
Yeah, but you remember
And after the one
before
hour show went off, you could watch these people on this Big Brother show for free online,
before Big
day and
Brother
night.
was Jenny Cam. Jenny's
Hmm.
what got this whole mess started. So coming full circle back around to it, to a person having a camera trained on themselves. That's
Really, in
no
a
big
way,
surprise. That's
you're
not even
right.
anything new.
It's a great tool that we can use, and it's fun and exciting, and we can do fun stuff like this. But it's also providing free content for Google Plus as a draw, right? I mean, right
Right.
now we're providing free
Absolutely.
content for Google Plus that they can,
Absolutely.
eventually monetize and use to draw more people in, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Linda. I know you had, and we've got three more topics, and then whatever you guys want to talk about after that. But I know you wanted to grill me, and if you want to briefly
I
grill
wanted to
me,
interview you. It was only fair
that was the
because
condition to get Linda on.
mhm.
The what did I call you? The prolific and delightful Linda. She had to be able to grill me as well. So go ahead.
That's right. First, for anybody that's watching that knows me and doesn't know who you are, that one person. um, I wanted you to just say a little bit about yourself, tell us something about you that maybe we don't know.
Well, I was born in Okinawa, Japan, which is why I'm short. And
Huh?
just kidding. But I grew up overseas, and I was always interested in news. I was picked on. We were in West Africa. I lived in Greece, India, Belgium, Liberia, which is in West Africa. I lived there. It was under martial law. They had just killed the president, and we were under Sam Doe, who was a brutal dictator. I saw people get killed,
Mm.
and the president used to drive in front of my house all the time. And after we left, he was literally skinned alive with a machete, and that's on YouTube.
Oh,
So I was there in between the coup and the Civil War. And then we went to London, England, and stuff. And I went to Fort Keene Military Academy in Central Virginia, which is probably closer to you than I am now. Uh, anyway, so I was always interested in news, and I got made fun of because I subscribed to the Wall Street Journal in the ninth grade, and apparently that's not cool when you're in the ninth grade. And so other kids made fun of me, but I didn't care. I was like, I'm interested in news, and so anyway, I got into it, and then I was got in radio when I was 19, right out of college, right out of high school. I got in radio, and then at WLVA in Lynchburg, I was a news director there at 19 or so, and then got interested in politics and stuff. And so I've always had this kind of thing, and I always wanted to have a newspaper. And so I started a news website in '05, and then in 2006 went print in Front Royal, Virginia, and it's called Warren County Report. It's now the #1 newspaper there. It's a county of 30,000 people, 35,000, and we print 9,000 something copies. And then now I've added Frederick County Report and Lynchburg Times. So I have three newspapers, and it's exciting because whenever I write something, if it goes in all three papers, we'll have 65, 70,000 people read it just in print. People picking up the paper and reading it, not including online. So then I discovered, as many people did, Google Plus. I got really excited about it, and I thought this is just the coolest thing. And I discovered that when I would use to do a talk show for fun, for fun and because I want to get good at it, right? The only way you get good at something is to get good at it and do it. And so, in order to do shows locally that we could monetize, because I have a really excellent sales staff locally, but not nationally, I would do some shows like this. And I just got sucked in. This is so awesome. And I
How did you
discovered
land on Google Plus though? How did you hear about it?
I heard about it. I was a MySpace user, then Facebook, and like everyone else, I've largely, if not 99%, abandoned MySpace. I mean, I logged on today because I forget why. Or someone quoted someone discovered, said, "Oh, I found your videos on MySpace," and I was like, "Oh my God, what is that?" Because it was like years since I've been on, right?
Yeah, and
So I
it's
went
like,
over
what's
there.
my password?
I know. So anyway, yeah. So the thing is,
Where'd you hear about Google Plus?
I
Did you
think the
read it in
first
the
time was the
news?
leak on TechCrunch when they said that there was something called Loops that was coming, and it was a secret screenshot, and it vaguely looked like
Loops
um,
or circles? I remember the
it was
circle.
before Circles. They called it something else in
Oh,
a
okay.
real like alpha test period. I want to
Mhm.
say Loops. It was some dumb name that
Mhm.
thank God they didn't stick with. But and there was a screen capture, and TechCrunch said, "Oh, this is something big happening." And then there was the other thing that something's going to happen. It's going to be called Circles, and they kind of had it 90%
Mhm.
right in the description. They just had the final name wrong, or they had it right and they changed it to Plus.
Mhm.
And then I got on. I don't know if it was right before it went public or right after. I can't remember. I can't remember who invited me. Oh no, it was Kat Ballard, who's a friend of mine locally. She said, "Oh, I can get you in. I have an invite." So she sent me an invite, and I got in really
Oh,
early
okay.
on.
What
Local
was your first impressions? I mean, it was raw. I
overwhelming.
don't I don't know if you hit the field test phase or if you hit the beta
No, I
phase, but
was general public. I wasn't in the secret, committee, with the Linda. Just kidding. Um, no, I'm picking on Linda, but no, I wasn't at all. I was just a Joe Sixpack regular guy. Went in there and just fell in love immediately. I thought, oh my God, this is so awesome, because initially, as you will concede, it was largely tech geek oriented, right? Because the kind of people that they would ask to be field testers were the original population of Google Plus, and it grew from there. So yeah, definitely. I just fell in love with it, and then now it's
Eh,
exciting to see people who more mainstream people come on, and it grow to be a general population. So there's less of a need to go to other social networks to interact with people who are there that you don't get to see in person often.
but you've been on Google Plus long enough to notice the improvements, the changes, the new features, and that sort of thing
The pros
that
and
have come
cons of
along.
that, correct? The pros that they it's more finely honed.
Mhm.
It's awesome. It's still awesome, and they've added. We've talked about all the features as you know as they've been added, and also it's become more mainstream. I see more people who are on it that are local that would have previously just been on Facebook, and it's becoming more widely adopted. So that's exciting.
Um, what in what you do right now, as you use it now, and how you predict you're going to use it in the future, what does Google Plus need to do to service that need that you're going to have if you don't have it now or that you foresee having?
For,
What are they going to need to do? Are they
as
going to
far
need to
as
do
getting
something different with Hangouts, or are they going to need to do something different as far as making it more, and I call it blog friendly, where once you post a blog and you decide you're going to blog on Google Plus, easy access to that blog post and easy finding it and that sort of thing. What do you need
You mean as far as to make it more widely? I'm not sure what your question is. To make it more
to
widely
make it
adapted.
no to make it work for you as you see what you're going to want to do in the future? What do you
For
need?
my particular needs,
Hmm.
I'm cool with it. I would actually like. I would be excited when because like right now, like this show, typically, except during the holiday period, Christmas kills you and New Year's, but typically this show will get between 1,500, a max of about 4,000 viewers on YouTube, and then
Hmm.
there's people watching live.
Okay.
and that's in a week, right? And then it
Mhm.
slowly grows over time. But it's a news show, so pretty much it's a weekly news show. So pretty much all your viewers are going to happen pretty quickly. It's time perishable. Nobody's watching
Um,
the NBC News from 4 weeks ago. I would like to be able to. When they start advertising, I would actually like to advertise it. And I don't do this for money. I mean, there are ads on the YouTube thing, and maybe every year or so, I'll get $100 check from YouTube, and I don't care. I mean, that's not makes it worth. I've got 10 grand invested in equipment for this. This is a fun thing that I find exciting and interesting because I get to meet so many new people. So I'm not really in it for that, but it would be neat if I could actually advertise once they do it to just tell more people if you're interested in Google Plus. We've got this cool show, Google Plus Week, that we interact with people on, and it's fun. And join us, check it out.
yeah, and it's not all about Google Plus. So everybody likes to hear about and know about what's going on with Google Plus and discuss Google Plus topics, but you do talk about other things as well.
And from the very beginning, because this show largely started out because I was doing a show called McDermott Report every night, which got to be too
Uh-huh.
much as the because the newspaper business was just growing. But Christina Trapolino came on, and we started doing it regularly, and we started talking about Google Plus, and largely for a forum for her because we were talking about that. I created this show called Google Plus Week, now
Hmm.
24 weeks ago, and then she's now got this great new job. So she did it a few episodes in the beginning, and then had to do other things, and that was totally cool. And I kept the show going, and thank God for the folks here. Everybody, especially Alan and Oleg, who are just the anchors of the show. I mean, they're awesome. They're so smart and they're so wonderful to take the time to do this with their busy schedules. And they're both very talented people in their own right. And
You
I'm so blessed to have them here because they add an
Yes.
element, a lively debate about virtually anything. They almost never completely agree on something, and they can always find the creative and thing like, well, okay, that's right, but what about this? Or sometimes they'll just go at it head to head, and it's great. And they're just as tough on me as they are on Mike Elgin earlier or anybody else. But it's great. I mean, that's why people watch the McLaughlin Group. You don't
well,
always
you're
want to know the planes landed on time. Sometimes you want to hear, you know.
yeah. Well, your interviewing and your broadcasting format, it's unique and it's different than some of the others that I've seen that other people have watched. It's more laid back. You have your share of tech glitches, your stink bug attacks. um, it's actually it's actually endearing to watch, even if you're not participating, but just to watch you go through the motions and watch how you deal with it. Because even when you're dealing with this stink bug that landed on your head and and crawled up your shoulder and all of that, you just kept talking, you kept entertaining, and somebody falls out that you're talking to, or they get disconnected. You're talking while you're reconnecting them. There's no dead time. There's no okay, tapping the fingers. Let's get on with it because y'all are you're talking to you're talking on the phone to someone that's not part of the show and things like that. So it is endearing to be able to see you do that. Why? y- And this is back going with Google Plus. My personal comment policy is I am all for. I mean, comment moderation policy. I'm all for it. I'm 100% believer in it. I believe that you are the host of every post you do, and everyone that comments is your guest. And you not only respect your guests, you want your guests to respect you and to respect each other. So I have a real strong comment policy about that. What is your personal comment moderation policy, or do you have one?
Wow,
Do you
that's two separate questions.
I know.
The thing, I guess, the I've seen you see TV shows that are really tightly scripted and professionally done, and you see podcasts that are very distinguishable from TV shows. So I try to keep things moving. I try to have the show look attractive, but at the same time, I try to have the personal element, and I try to be real. I don't want to put on some airs. I mean, if you meet me in person, I'm exactly the same as I am now. If we met in a coffee shop or a bar or wherever, this is me. And so I try to be authentic, but still keep it as fast paced as possible, given that I'm ADHD and I'm easily distracted and I screw up, things. And it's hard to keep track of all these different things going on. There's like 7 monitors in front of me. But it's so much fun. But I think you can. I try to be classy and dignified, but fun and easygoing. And not to get to be a downer, but I've seen, in Africa, I've seen people beat to death. In India, I've seen people starve to death. Um, where they would every morning they would come and pick up the bodies and put them on the truck. And I've seen all kinds of rough things in my life, so it's pretty hard to phase me. I can handle a stink bug. We lived in Mamba Point in Liberia, which was uh, named after the black mamba, which is the most poisonous non-nerve attacking snake in the world. In India, or I forget what country, it was normal. You'd pour the cereal in the bowl, put the milk in, you'd shake it up, and the little bugs would rise to the surface, and you'd spoon them off and trash them, and then you'd eat the cereal. When I was a little kid, I didn't know any different, so it was normal to me. So I've seen
Hmm.
all kinds of crazy, awful things that a kid shouldn't have to see, and dealt with them. But that's life, and I've seen the world, and so it's made me very thick-skinned, hard to upset, pretty even-keeled. And so when a stink bug lands on me, at least I don't have to, at least I'm not discovering half a stink bug in my soup. You know,
But
that's the
how does that same experience carry over to um, comments
in
in your
comments.
post, or even in seeing them in someone else's post when people are starting to go at it with each other? I mean, that's a totally different than some of the things you've seen in
Yeah,
your
that's a whole
offline
thing,
life.
and it's worse for you because in my case, people have chosen to follow me because they've discovered me or seen a post or what have you, right? In your case, you're getting mass um, random audience that has no idea what you are. Like if someone who's completely uninterested in Scoble, or if someone who was completely uninterested in technology all of a sudden clicked on Scoble because he was recommended, and then said, "Well, this guy sucks because all he posts about is boring technology stuff." Well, that's a problem. It's unfair criticism of Scoble, right? Or if all you post about is cooking and someone's not interested in that. In my case, they basically discovered me or found me out. So we both have a lot of quality and you more so than I do because of the numbers, but you have more quantity than I do. But I'm very happy. I would say the quality quantity ratio on my people who've circled me is pretty good because I just look at it. If they choose to follow me, they know what I'm going to post about, and I don't have to moderate as much as you would because just the vast number with 500,000 people, you're going to have kooks in there, and I've seen them, and some of them are hysterical and some are scary. But
Well, there's none of them are too
I've never had
scary,
a
but some
problem
of them
with that. I've never. I mean, I don't. Maybe I think I've blocked one person. I've actually been blocked more than I've blocked. I've been blocked by. Um,
hey, we've all been blocked.
I've been blocked. I don't want to get into that, but a very prominent media person blocked me,
Hmm.
and then talked to me about it and tried to unblock me, and he can't figure out
Can
how.
I interrupt for just a
I'm
second?
not going to say who. Go ahead,
I
Oleg.
just wanted to say, Dan mentioned that he saw people getting skinned alive. He did talk about that, but somebody blocking him, he doesn't want to talk about.
No, I don't want to because the person is someone who didn't understand. It's a long story. I shouldn't have brought it up. It's not fair to introduce a
It
topic
happens.
if I'm not
It's
going to
happened to
elaborate on it.
me.
Now, Linda, here's the real truth. The deal with me and Alan, what Dan said, was very nice. It's not true. It's all about the stink bug, and it's all about, like you said, the entertainment portion of the show. That's
Yeah,
what it's about.
that's right.
What do you mean? What are you
Well,
saying? That I deliberately encourage stink bugs? But no, I
well,
mean
I
I
only
know it's
have one
fun and
more
interesting,
question.
but the other thing is I've never really had a problem with moderation. That's the answer. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay. I only have one other question. Of all and I call them terms of endearment, or just terms, or sayings that you see online that people use and overuse so much, what is the one you dislike the most? And I'll tell you mine. I dislike in real life. And the reason I like it is because I prefer to call that offline life, because online, the online community is real life for most people now. It used to be, it was some kind of a fantasy life, but not anymore. It's part of real life. So I don't call it, I call it offline life. What term do you dislike that you hear so much besides maybe the words marketing or expert?
Oh, you mean just like general things you see
Yeah,
in
that you
posts?
hear over and over. No, just something that people keep referring to over and over and over, and you just wish they would use a different way of saying it. Great.
Give me yours because I'm not sure I understand. I want to make sure
Okay,
we're talking about the same
you
thing.
hear about in real life, and what they're doing, what they're talking about is like something they did when they weren't on the computer. They went to the park or they did something with their kids in real life. And that's almost to me demonizes online life as something that's not real. It's a fantasy, and it's not. Not Google Plus. There was a time AOL chat rooms and MSN chat rooms. That wasn't real life. Believe me, I've seen all that goes on in those. But Google Plus is different. You got people that are using their real names and they're posting pics of their kids and their grandkids and pictures of what they just baked in the oven. It's real life and they're sharing it online. So I don't like in real life used as a term for when you're away from Google Plus or any social network. I prefer to look at it as offline life. So
I
that's my little thing that grates on my nerves. That's just me.
I don't know what. I guess you're getting at turn-ons and turn-offs, right?
Yeah, what is it
Because
that niggles you that you it niggles at you when you see it on Google Plus?
what I don't, not so much terms. I'm more interested. I'm interested in content. I'm interested in humor or music or all the different forms of content. I'm interested in interacting with people. Everybody in this room I consider a personal friend now because I've met them through this show or through hangouts or posts, but largely through the show. And they're cool people. They're all extremely different and they're all awesome. And I can't count how many friends I've made that I never would have met otherwise. And we've talked about this multiple times, and that's really the biggest plus for me. Pardon the pun, but I would say that the thing I that's what I enjoy. What I don't like is people who are trying to run a hustle, trying to here's let's have an, uh, how to make the most money on Google Plus and how to. I mean, that's not why we're here, right? And at least
Not
for
why
me,
I'm
but
here.
for some folks are into that. That's fine, cool, good for you. But I'm interested in Linda telling me a funny story or something that makes me think or something that makes me happy or something that pisses me off, some story, and but it's something I didn't know, and now I know it, and boy, that's interesting. That's what I'm after. I'm out to
Let,
meet new people who I can learn from or laugh with or whatever. And I'm not into that whole thing, and I don't like celebrities who come on here and milk the thing, and they will post and never engage.
Yeah.
Like you engage like crazy. Mike Elgin, we talked about earlier, he engages like crazy. I don't like these celebrities.
Scoville engages.
And Scoble, I can't tell you how many. Jeff Jarvis, big time guy. Everyone's after him to do stuff. He's engages. He just reshared a post of mine the other day. Um, but those guys, I just love them and I respect them. I don't like guys who have half the number of followers you do, right? But they're so self-important. I don't want to name names. They're so self-important that they'll post provocative stuff. They'll never engage unless it's to post a snarky response to some particular critical comment by somebody. They never do it. They just use it as and I'm like, why are you on a social network if you're antisocial? If you're going to be a social outcast, why the hell are you on a social network? That's what pisses me off when people just
Dan,
use
let
it
me
as a
ask you
tool.
something.
Yes, sir.
How much do you see that on Google Plus, and how do you think what do you think the solution to that is? Because I agree with you 100%. Those the people who are the hucksters are really beginning to get to me, and
So
I
don't
want your
follow
thoughts
them.
on how to deal with them.
I don't
Don't
see it
follow
too
them.
much because I mean, you are a victim of, as we've said, you are a victim of who you circle. You can control, like in Linda's case, which is an extreme case because she has, close to encroaching up on 500,000 people following her. She can't possibly receive every notification because she would need 50 hours a day to do that. She has to have a life. So she turns it to where if she has circled you, then she gets your notifications. Otherwise, you're screwed. The disadvantage, of course, is someone could be trashing her and she wouldn't have any knowledge of it unless someone saw it and told her
But
who
I
was
would
in her
Well,
have
she
to
could
circle.
care.
always search.
I'd
She
have
could
to
always search.
care, you know,
That's a
and
good
that's the
point.
point.
Yeah,
What?
but you got to do that. But I don't know. I mean, it's not a big deal because if someone is if it's someone who's you don't want to be rude to because you like them but you don't like what they're posting, you can move them to a circle and and use the tools that she's talking about. Where at her level of traffic, instead of ever looking at her mainstream, she always uses the circles and people who are important to her. she will actually, put like her husband. She'll put them in every circle so she won't miss something. And I think that's an excellent. That's probably the most valuable suggestion I've gotten during the show was her
Well,
advice
yes and no.
on that
Remember that you
management.
wind up losing numbers. I mean, you can only have 5,000, and they will count against it. So that's the drawback of this.
No, you can have 5,000 total. I can put him in every circle and it doesn't count extra. He's
Oh, it does
still,
not.
he is
Okay.
still just one
One.
person.
I see. Okay. In that
And
Yeah.
case,
so,
absolutely you can do that.
She
yeah,
can
Yeah,
she can have
that's a
5,000
very neat
circles
way
and
of
put one
handling it.
person in every circle
right, I could do
and
that, I
still have
guess.
one. Yeah,
But,
and still have one.
right,
Gotcha. Well, in
but,
that case, absolutely you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, Linda's got some game.
well, you have to, it's a learning curve. Everybody had to learn. I had to learn it. I had to figure out what worked for me. And initially especially with the field testers, everybody was sharing, this is what I do, and this is how you do this, and this works for me. And, you pick up, and even still, every now and then, just recently something cropped up. It was like hangouts for beginners. And it somehow I lost it because I was going to reshare it again. Um, I am having a little bit of a problem. You've seen it. You may have seen it on my, I know you saw it, Dan. I'm getting people with no profile picture, and you put up a post, and it's something lame. I mean, some joke or something. And immediately, somebody is hanging out to discuss this topic.
Oh, the hangout thing. Yeah, there's no
That
option to turn that off. But
it's like
nobody, you know what
it's
though?
like
If it's some guy,
hangout whoring is what it is. It's hangout whoring, and I don't know.
hangout whoring, that's
Yeah,
we've
it's like
created a new
here's some
meme.
dude that I have no idea what people in my thread, if they were to go in that hangout with no profile picture and no profile information, and I don't know him from Adam, what are they going to see when they pop in that hangout of his? It's like, so I just remove that comment the minute I see it, unless it's someone I know, or I know they're okay and they just want to see if anybody wants to go in a hangout and talk about something that, it's an easy way to start a hangout too, and it doesn't have to be about that topic. But I'm getting a lot of hangout whoring right now, and I'm just removing those because I have no idea what's up with it. It's almost like a form of spam to me,
That's a great
you know.
term. That's going to become. We're going to meme that. We're going to meme hangout whoring because that's a thing. I think it's largely irrelevant and useless because if some person with no picture and it's some weird name, nobody's going to join that hangout. I mean, you
Yeah.
rarely see anybody join it.
But it's like a spam thing. Like I said, I have never had a bad experience in a hangout, and I don't go anywhere that I'm going to have. I'm
Until
going,
now, right?
I wasn't a chat roulette person. I didn't even go check it out. you know, no chat roulette kind of
Oh,
situation.
like just said until now. That's great.
Yeah, until now. But I don't know what people would see with this stranger, and if they see them in
It's
my thread, maybe they think I know them, and that maybe they think I know they're okay, and I don't. So I just remove the comment. Um,
Oleg.
that's just
I was just going to say, I think it's a phenomenal feature for business use. I think Linda is absolutely right. For personal use, I don't really see that much use of it. In terms of, I mean, there's just not that much use. But from business perspective, I think it's a phenomenal feature to have.
oh,
The
absolutely.
post based hangouts, or are you talking about the
Yeah,
hangouts in
post
general?
based
Yeah,
hangouts, exactly.
yeah, yeah. They haven't figured it out yet. This is, with all due respect, a fairly ghetto implementation of it. It's too in a hot post. The only time that would work is in a hot post where a lot of people are interested in the post. But in that case, that comment, the only place it's mentioned is in a single comment, which may be 40 comments up by the time somebody
Right, and
sees it.
you're right.
It's
You're
it's
right.
largely
There's many
useless right
problems.
now.
One of the other problems I think is the deal with threading. If they had threads and comments, it would make it much better too.
I've used, what is it? I can't remember which services does threaded comments, and I didn't like the layout. I like the idea of the permalink comments having a permalink, but
Linda, have you ever used Wave?
uh, I played with it. It didn't. You know what I felt like? I felt like I was walking into Grand Central Station, even if I did know everyone there. I've
No,
just
no, but
felt like
forgetting
it
that part,
was.
I'm saying, did you see how they did the comments in there in Wave?
Oh, I can't remember because I didn't use it enough to.
I did, and it was horrible.
Well,
Absolutely horrible.
it wasn't great, but at the same time, you could
No,
see.
no, it was horrible. That was the worst nested, that was the worst threaded implementation I've ever seen. And I've
Well,
seen
I was
threaded
just saying that you
implementations
could
for
at
20
least see what people are
years.
saying to a particular thing in one place. That's all I was trying to say.
They
Well,
weren't
there's
saying one particular thing in one place. It was impossible to follow. It jumped around all over the place. It was an utter mess.
That's why I kind of got out of it. I didn't use it. It was like it was like it was too overwhelming. It's like with ADHD, it's like, oh, even I can't compensate for this. And ADHD, you can compensate for just about anything. And I couldn't compensate for that. But I will tell you one thing that another social network does with their commenting system that is was absolutely amazing. I don't know of anybody that does it, and they did it years ago. You every user had a choice to choose how they wanted to view comments. They could choose them reverse to where the most recent was at the top right under the post. They could choose it, the normal timeline where the most recent was at the bottom,
Hmm.
or they could choose threaded. And whatever you click, any post that you were on, and whatever format you chose to see that, it stuck until you changed it again, which means you could bounce all around. You could log off, log back on, and your comment choice, reading choice, was set the way you last left it until you change it again. And each user got to choose how they wanted to view their comments. Now, the problem with viewing them in reverse was nobody read all the previous comments. I never used that because I always read all the comments. I tried the nesting a little bit or the threaded, and it was okay for a while, but I went back to just how I'm using it now. But for any user to have the choice and the back end of all that, I'm glad I wouldn't have to code that. But and I don't know that Google ever will, but Google Plus, but it was a choice and it was an amazing system and everyone loved it because they every individual got to choose how which of those three things how they wanted to look at their comments.
Which service was it, Linda, if you don't mind?
It's actually multiply.com. Yeah, you may have never heard of it, but
No, I don't.
it had
I've heard of it.
yeah, it had millions of users, still does, but the company actually sold, or the owners actually sold it when it became. It's now a great. It still has the individual social element, and all of the original social members are still there as regular members, but they have moved over to commerce now. They have a lot of online shops. It was big in the Philippines and they sold. I think they're still there, the original owners, but in what capacity I couldn't tell you because I'm not privy to that. But
Yeah.
um, they had features before Facebook had them. They had features before any social net. They had amazing privacy features that you could only dream of.
Hmm.
Relevant to they weren't circles, but what you could be as walled as you wanted or as public as you wanted, and the only other thing they also have design features. Every person's page, every person's group, every group could be totally designed. You could either use preset themes or you could put in your own CSS and HTML to design it how you want. So, but that's just one idea of if Google wanted to implement it. But see, Google, one thing about Google is they pay attention to who uses what. And if something doesn't get used to where it's not worth it to them to maintain it, you know, any service,
Hmm.
anything they have, eventually it goes away. Some of the lab things, they went away, you know.
How much
Uh,
of that is Google, and how much of that is the new Larry Page Google, or the
What
um,
do
I,
you
th-
do
the
with
I
return
that?
don't
of
know
Larry Page
how,
Google?
I don't know how much they've pulled in, tested, pulled in, let go. I don't know over the years. So I can't say it's Larry Page's, administration doing it or if it was previous. I can't say, but I just know that it only makes good sense. It's just like with Facebook and the timeline. Eventually, Facebook will move everyone over to the timeline feature because they will not maintain both. It's not cost effective to them. Eventually, they may find that, you know, there's not if even if they were planning on doing it, eventually just like Google, they'll find there's not enough uses for it to justify us continuing to support something. And so I don't know whether Google would consider it, and if they did, or if they tested it and then decided that not enough people are using the reverse timeline or the threaded, what's the point of supporting this feature? So it's an idea, but I don't know how well it would go over.
Yeah, I would even be for them doing just one level of nesting so it doesn't get crazy. But at least have one level of nesting where you can see replies to the same comment.
Yeah,
Be
I'll tell you.
better.
Well, here's a way to fix that. And back again to multiply. For every time you hit reply, well, I use there's a Chrome extension, reply to author or reply to a comment, so
Right.
that it auto populates the person's, linked name.
But that's all it does.
Right. Well, at multiply.com, what they did was you could click on reply, and then you had a little box that said quote, and you quoted, it would actually show up in your comment, their entire comment that you were replying to, or you highlighted a line or two, hit quote, and it would populate right in front of you.
Yeah, I'm totally opposed to that. That's why I'm trying to get away from email because of that. Because it gets ridiculous after a
I
while.
The
wish
problem with
I wish
quotes
we
is
had
that
a
people
quoting feature.
overquote and they never trim, and it gets to be a mess. So you'll get
Yeah,
this
it's just
50-line
yeah.
quote that somebody replies to saying, "Yeah, I agree."
Or just
Exactly.
take off. Yeah, we had a lot of that, so they could get rid of the quote all. Don't consider quote all. Make it a highlight only feature.
Even without quote all, I've seen it horribly abused by people who really aren't paying
Yeah.
attention to
Plus,
what
it's
they're
ton
doing.
more content that you're
I mean,
duplicating
but
and
but that's the
storage and everything else.
problem. I think the solution that you actually alluded to earlier, the one where having a permalink, and we won't discuss real permalinks or not,
Right.
is a clever solution because it starts leading to real threading. It starts leading to real referencing and not just horrible, 50-layer deep nesting, which just
That's
gets
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
an
Do one layer
abomination to
deep,
read.
so you have
Yeah.
just one indentation. So you
Yeah, I
cannot
could.
do a comment on a comment. You can only do a comment one time, and then everybody else can only reply to this one comment. I
Well,
think
that's
then
what
that
you
would be
have
better.
now, Oleg.
No, but so you can
You
see
reply
it
one
what it
time to
was
the main.
done.
I mean, that's exactly what you have now that people are complaining about.
Well, you don't have that now.
Sure, you do.
When you reply
You
right
reply
now,
to
your comment
exactly
is at the
one
bottom.
comment, and that's called the main post.
No, no, no. I know.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
talking about
yes.
comment on the comment. Okay, I
So
know
what's the
that.
difference between replying, one level nested in versus two levels nested in versus five?
Well, I'll tell you what.
One is totally
Difference is,
arbitrary. If
I
you're
had
going
an
to do something
argument
totally
with.
arbitrary, zero is the correct totally arbitrary number.
No, I disagree. Totally disagree. I had an
Who?
argument today
You
with
don't
Chris
totally
Perillo.
disagree.
I'm
You
sorry.
partially disagree because you think that nesting once is okay, but twice is evil incarnate.
No, I'm saying if you go twice, you go more than twice. So that's what I'm saying. You limit it at once, but at least you can have
And
the
I'm saying you
comment.
limit it at zero. It's very simple that way.
Who does nesting right now? Doesn't Reddit do nesting? I'm trying to remember.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but they have infinite nesting, I'm pretty sure.
No, I had today. Today, Chris Perillo pointed, indicated, he had one post talking about YouTube, and he was PO'd why YouTube has dislike button. Why don't you just only use like button and forget the dislike altogether? And I thought the guy was all wet, and so tons of people put in comments, and so between me and him arguing on the subject, wound up like every 10 entries or so, every 5 entries, you end up seeing response to what he says to me, what I say to him, what he says to me, what I say to him, and that's what I'm saying. It just doesn't when you read it, it looks weird. That's all.
The problem is, well, the other problem is if you're looking at it with Wave, the way Wave ended up doing it, it looked weird because the indentation looked weird to begin
Right.
with, and then you couldn't find the reply in the middle of all of the other comments anyway. Having comments logically grouped either forwards or backwards as they're coming in an easy to locate location, that sounded good, easy to locate place is very simple. It's very straightforward. People can find it. The biggest problem, as you note, is trying to get a grasp on exactly what has been replied to. And I think using names is the best solution we have so far, and it's a pretty darn good solution.
Well, other than, I'll have you get in a long post and someone goes, oh, that comment is so full of wind, and they even name the name, and then you have to scroll up and go, oh, which comment? You're scrolling
Exactly.
up and
And they talk
scrolling
about
up.
they may have multiple things they talk about. No, I
Yeah.
disagree. I think to have a post and then comment and then sub comment level, that would be much better than what it is now.
And I think that's an arbitrary division, and once people get that, they're going to say, why can't we go one more?
So today we have a
And
classic disagreement. That's all.
and if you're saying you should have sub comments, there's no reason why you
I'm
shouldn't
saying
have
have
sub
sub
comments.
comment level one, not more than one.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying you're making an arbitrary distinction based on absolutely nothing.
No, I'm making it based on today's specific situation where it would have been very helpful. That's what I'm basing it on.
Okay. All right. They've reached a rare moment of agreement. Um,
We
I'm
have?
silent.
You mean we've agreed to disagree, right?
That's
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Oh.
Okay, we're way over time. So let's, if you feel we can either delay.
You got somewhere you need to be?
No, no, no. I'm just for the broadcast part because if you
I
get
know.
too much over 2 hours, you can risk losing whatever the thing on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Google's liquor license.
All right, here's the thing. We definitely have this breaking news out of Ireland that we want to hit last, but I see a couple of topics here. Photographs on Google Plus to okay, photo uploading on Google Plus to pass photos uploading on Facebook this year. This was a thing today. What do you guys think? It's basically because it's built into Android, right? It's involuntary almost.
Well, there's one thing I read today, and oh Lord, I can't remember what it was. Isn't there some kind of now Instagram
Yeah,
thing that has to do with Facebook that now you can see these now all of a
exactly.
sudden, there's some kind of a little deal going on there, or a thing or app or something over there.
Yeah, it's only for iOS, but yeah.
Yeah, well, for now, and that's going to have a little bit of an impact as far as it's just, one feature battling another, one social network battling another one for how great a feature is or how well, But I did read that today. I was thinking it was Instagram. I couldn't quite remember.
Okay, and then
Can I?
go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say that I think the reason that there's so many photos that are getting uploaded to Google Plus is because there's so many photographers that are following each other, and because Google Plus is big for photographers, obviously you're going to have a lot of photographs on the service.
Let me ask you something though. His analysis. This is Paul. Oh gosh, what's his name?
Paul
Paul.
Allen, who's the same guy that is giving estimations on how many users are on Google Plus.
His numbers have got to be from public picture posts, not private. In other words,
Right.
if you have an Android phone, it'll automatically upload every photo you take to Google Plus,
But
right?
it
Which
loads
are
it
set to
privately.
private.
But they're
Well,
private,
not totally.
so those numbers
You
can't
can
be.
turn it off.
They're
No,
private until
right,
you
right.
share them.
Right,
Well,
but
he
they're
doesn't
private,
indicate.
so he doesn't
He
know
doesn't
that
indicate
number.
where he gets his photo numbers from, Dan. He
It
doesn't
has to be
indicate
public.
where. He doesn't indicate where he gets his number of photos uploaded per person.
Okay.
All he's saying is, based on the number of users, he is projecting that it will be this many photos uploaded per day. I can only guess that Google at some point said, here's how many photos we see being uploaded a day. He's
They did
multiplying
say,
that
yeah.
by his projection for number of users and coming up with his extrapolation.
Okay.
And he may be right on the money or he could be way off. There's no way of knowing for sure, but people follow what he says. People are paying attention to it.
You know, Alan, I don't want to flat out disagree with you, but that would seem pretty sloppy for the way that he gathers numbers to do it so simply like that. I just don't see him as being that sloppy.
His quote, well,
He's been doing it a while though. He's been paying attention to all these numbers from the inception of Google Plus almost, that how many users, and I don't know how close he's been compared to what's been announced by Google.
okay, looking further at it, he bases this on a survey. And the crucial question on the survey is, how many photos have you taken with your smartphone in the past 24 hours? There's a follow-up question, have you uploaded these to Facebook or to another site? So he's
so
basically
it's survey
saying,
based.
what was that?
It's
That-
survey based.
This
That's
one.
survey-based.
Did he take the survey of Google Plus people or Facebook people or both?
I never saw the survey, so I wouldn't count, but
Sure.
that doesn't mean there isn't.
Well, the
It's not
Facebook
entirely clear to
number-
me where the survey was posted, but he's not asking how many photos are you publishing to the site. He's not asking how many, he's not saying
Okay.
how many photos have you shared.
Right.
He's asking how many photos have you taken using your smartphone. And he specifically says using your smartphone.
Well-
I think he's basically coming up with a number which seems kind of out there, and multiplying that by his user projection, which I think is a fairly solid user projection.
So he's done a sampling, and that's what most polls are. There's nothing but a sampling.
Right. I think it's an interesting number, and I think it's an interesting number to discuss. I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to, buy or sell Google stock based on it. But to be honest, I don't see a lot of people posting photos, except for photographers, And I continue to think that Google's photo management system, although it's gotten worlds better,
Mhm.
is still a mess.
There's some. I'm finding myself getting when I go into my photos, or I'm looking at photos from other people's posts. I'm still fumbling around. There is a bit of. I think it needs to be simplified for the average user because I look for. I'm not looking to save someone else's photo. I'm looking at, can I plus it here? Why can't I plus it there? I've been tagged in some photos, and I see it in my stream. And so when I go to share from just me, private, to public, it won't do it. It won't let me do it, and I'm not sure why. I don't know why. I guess I have to share it from their post and not my stream. I'm not sure.
Probably.
So it's all part of the photo process. Brian Rose and the team, and I say Brian Rose because I'm most familiar with him. They've worked really, really hard at enhancing things that we want with our photos. Privacy for one. I just discovered the other day that I could turn off downloading. I think it was of my
Right.
profile picture, my
Yes.
profile picture, which I could at one time you couldn't do,
No.
and now you can. I went in on all my scrapbook photos because I have a picture of my daughter, my son up there, my husband, and it's like all of a sudden I realized people were leaving these comments and I didn't like them, and I couldn't figure out how can I turn comments. All of a sudden, I could turn comments off on them, and I could also turn off downloading of them
Yeah.
and resharing of them. It's like, why are people sharing a picture of my daughter? I'm going to take it down if this isn't fixed. These are strangers, and all of a sudden, and it's just her face, but still, I would never share somebody's baby pictures or something. I mean, why would I want to do that?
Not for sharing purposes.
So
You're
there's
right.
a creep factor there that was bugging me, and I let it be known. I let it through feedback, and I let Brian, and I've posted about it. And all of a sudden, the changes. They're listening. You
Mhm.
know, they're
No,
listening.
there's in terms of number of photos and stuff, it's not unusual. I mean, if you look at it, number one, they married Picasso to the thing, so that's automatically gave them a tremendous library that immediately became part of Google Plus. I
Hmm.
mean, that was just again, Facebook doesn't have anything like Picasso.
But the big problem there was when they first married it, it was a really, really bad connection between the two.
You didn't have the features on Google
You
Plus in
didn't
your
have the features in
photos.
Google Plus.
No, I'm
Yes,
just
you
talking
could get
about the
them if you
stuff
knew how
that
to jump hoops and get to Picasa.
I know, but Alan, I'm talking about number one. I'm talking about now, and number two, I'm talking about that they got all those pictures in, so immediately there was a whole set of pictures that were quote unquote uploaded to Google Plus because of the Picasso integration.
Right. But I think the point that I'm more trying to make is Facebook had to do all of this from the ground up. And in doing so, they put in features that were useful and that people wanted from the beginning. So you had album management from the beginning. You had, good caption management and all of this sort of
How is
stuff
it that you don't
and
have
I don't
all
know.
from the
I
beginning. And you still don't have some of this in Google
But
Plus.
how do you not have album management now? You have album management.
You don't have good album management.
What do you mean by good?
It's
What are
there.
you,
You got to find it. You got to
You can't.
locate it.
It's still difficult to reorder pictures.
It's drag and drop now, isn't it?
in Picasso?
No. Yeah.
No, in Google Plus.
Oh.
You just go to Picasso and do it. Why do you do
You
the Google?
can't
Right.
just go to Picasa.
You have to go
Why?
to photos. You have to go to
You
photos.
can't
in
just
the
go to
black
photos.
bar.
They
Why?
removed that.
No, photos is still up in the black bar.
Yes, but it takes you to a Google Plus photos. It doesn't take you to Picasa anymore.
Oh, okay.
If you go to Picasso web, it doesn't go there.
No,
Well-
you have to go google.com/photos, I believe.
If
I
you,
won't swear to that. I don't have a
You can-
No,
screen.
if you
go
go
to
to Picasso Web, the-
picassoweb.google.com.
if you go to picassoweb.google.com and you're logged in correctly,
Yeah,
then yes, you can get in there.
Oh,
and you
okay.
can manage your albums.
Okay, that's not managing albums from Google Plus.
No.
That's going to Picasa, and that's
It's a
like
different
3
link,
extra
Alan,
steps.
come on.
No, it's significant, Oleg. It goes back to paying attention to details.
Well, they're
They need to
still
change the
bringing
link to
those
go to
features
Picasso web.
over.
I agree. Okay, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
I mean, yes,
Yeah,
I could, and I have a problem going to Picasa because I use multiple logins. I realize I'm an edge case. Okay, but Picasa doesn't work with that.
Yeah, I don't want to go over to Picasa if it's because I've already got. I really don't want to have to go over to Picasa now to do something. I want to be able to do it in Google Plus because
I
I'm
mean,
already
I was
there.
They'll eventually do it.
I
One of
was-
the big
Yeah.
complaints I have about the whole thing is when I share some pictures from a single album, And then if I want to add more pictures to the same album and share them differently, I cannot do it. It winds
No,
up having all these pictures in there. So they definitely have some issues. No
they've got a
question.
lot of issues.
Yeah,
They've,
but
they've
it's
got issues with circle management. They've got issues with moving things between
no
folders.
circle management now. That falls on the user. They can't spoon feed us everything. And circle management, that's up to us. We create a circle, we name it, we put people in it. Then I really do not want. What was
No,
it? Facebook
no.
did
Sorry,
that
sorry.
thing.
To be clear, we've
Uh-huh.
got issues that if we have for example, if we have a post, we share that post to a limited number of people. If
Uh-huh.
we wanted to share it to somebody else, we need to actually reshare it. We can't just change the permissions on it.
No, I don't want permissions
That's a
changeable
post.
though.
An
Yeah.
album works completely differently though, because we can change the permissions on an
Yeah.
album. So they've got this mixed metaphor. They've got this
You got to give them
two
some
different
time.
ways of
Alan.
doing the
You're
exact
right,
same
but you
thing.
got to give them some time. That's all. They're working on it. They already released Picasso. Just came out
Oleg,
with
I
a
know
new
this.
version.
I know this. And I was thrilled on the day that they brought over what they called the Creative Kit. And then the only thing you seem to hear about people doing in the Creative Kit is adding party hats. And that's fine and dandy, but the Creative Kit is the most powerful thing they've got in the photo management system, and nobody talks about it.
I looked around in Creative Kit and maybe I didn't see it, but the things that I use my programs and other online photo editors for, resizing, I couldn't find a resize option in there. Now I don't know if it is.
Well, you
Maybe
can
it's
use
there and I just
Picnic.
didn't see it.
You can use
There,
Picnic.
resizing isn't too big a deal in this particular case, but you can crop there. It's there.
Yeah, I did
It's
see
hiding,
crop.
but it's there.
I did see crop. I just didn't. I resize pictures a lot,
Yeah.
and I use Paint for resize. If all I'm gonna do is resize, I pull up Paint, resize it because if it's a funny picture, as long as it's readable, I don't need it to be huge. If it's got words on it, or maybe I need it to be larger because it has words, so I do that before I even go in there rather than try to do it in Picasso or
See,
in
the
Photos.
the neat thing with having it online, and certainly having it in the modern Picasso web, is it really doesn't matter what the size is as long as it's smaller than 2048 by 2048, and it's free. That's free for you.
Yeah, I
So,
need to. A lot of them I need to actually enlarge. I need to make them a little bit bigger.
well, I
And
mean, in that case, what you get to do is well, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, now, well, one of the things I've done, or I found that I could take a screenshot of say a section of comments in a thread. As I take it, just as it is, and then if I were to post it because it's a really funny comment or something, the fact is that it's not readable, even if you hover it, even if you click on it. So what I learned, it finally dawned on me today, why don't I just zoom the page and then take a screenshot? And it worked perfect. I didn't have to resize it or anything. It took me this long, all this time, to figure that's something so simple as that.
Linda, you know that you're in Picasso. You can go ahead and select Edit and using Picnic, right?
Yeah, I have.
So here,
I
right
went in
there,
there a
shown
little
on the
bit.
screen here. It's probably reversed, but
Wait a
you'll
minute.
see it. You
Let me
see
get-
they have the options. One of the options they have is resize at the bottom there.
Ah, there it is. Okay, and
So
go
just
back
if you
up a
just
little
right
bit.
click and select, or not right click, if you just pull up a picture and then simply select Edit in Picnic, then you can
Okay.
just right from online you can resize it using that.
So there is resize.
Yeah.
I didn't see it when I went over
Yeah,
there
when you
before.
said you're using Microsoft Paint, I just had to intervene and
And
I
add
use-
this.
And if it's in Picnic, it's almost certainly in the Creative Kit as well, because that's all the Creative Kit is.
Yeah,
Right.
and the other thing I do is I will read GIFs. I don't post a lot of GIFs. I don't post real flashy bang ones,
Animations, yeah.
but occasionally I'll want to resize them so that, they fit better there, or I will also want to change the speed of the GIF, and I go to lunapic.com for that because it's a good GIF manager.
What a
I
great
mean, a
name
good
for a
GIF
site,
editor.
Lunapic.
Lunapic, LUNAPIC.com.
Okay,
And
here's I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I want to move on real quick and close the official version of the show, and then we can hang out if you guys want to. We can still stream the hangout and Justin stuff, but I got to close the YouTube thing because I'm worried about
Okay.
how big the file can be. Okay,
Okay.
so here's the deal. We got 3 fun things to talk about. First of all, Anthony, I actually got a comment from Denmark from a viewer who said you promised in a previous episode you would get better lighting. And you failed. So all of our viewers in Denmark are are going to start demonstrating in the streets if you don't get some front facial lighting. Anthony's one of those awesome guys. I also got to pick on him because I was all excited today. I thought that our page had finally been hacked because our doc I always leave open, right, and no one's really
Mm-hmm.
messed with it. I think one time someone messed with it a little bit, but I leave it open to the public and I post it publicly and it gets spread out to God knows how many thousands of people, and nobody's ever destroyed it. They've always just looked at it, or and we had like 60 people today looking at it, but it
Well,
was
you know you
actually
can back it up.
correct. So it wasn't a big deal. But it saves each revision or each version, and then it got all hacked today, and I was all excited because I thought I'd have a fun hacking story to talk about, and it turns out, what was it, Anthony?
My cat sat on the keyboard.
his cat his cat sat on the keyboard because I was like, oh, this is cool. I got this, so I reverted it back to previous version, and then I got this random thing from Anthony's like, I'm sorry about my cat sitting on the keyboard and ruining your doc, and I was like, oh, that's funny. All right, the other thing I want to tell, and then we got to talk about this breaking news from Ireland that Linda turned me on to. All right, this is an Android phone, right? A Motorola Photon, which is a wonderful phone with a really bad camera, but that's not part of what I was talking about. But they got this cool new app, and I'll just show it to you. I posted about it today. I forget what the name of it is. If anyone can tell me, I wouldn't mind at all. But anyway, here's how it works. Everyone has a flashlight app on their phone, right? So the way this one works is, you always, like, when you need a flashlight, it's dark, and it's, you often, like, you're trying to find your keys and you got your bag of groceries or something. But this is a cool innovation. Here's the deal. You all you have to do is hit your button, right? And then you go to this sign on thing. All you have to do is shake your phone like this, and the light comes
Oh,
on. That is smart. All you have to do is you hit the power button, which everyone knows where it is, but you don't have to swipe to turn it on. You don't have to click the flashlight button. You don't have to click the on thing. You just hit the power button and shake your phone, and the thing comes on. That is smart. And it's, I'll tell you exactly what the app is called. It's
I remember the post. I can't remember the name.
LED flashlight. I don't know. Just go to my site,
Okay.
and you can find it, and I'll put in the show notes or whatever. But anyway, that is smart. That's a really innovative thing. I don't think we've ever covered an app before in the show.
Unless you carry a purse and you're standing there digging in your purse at your door because the porch light blew out.
Well, I've lived in Europe for for a number of years, but I got to tell you, I'm not comfortable enough to have a man purse. I'm just,
No,
I
not
don't
yet.
know. It's not. It's in Front Royal, Virginia. It ain't happening. So uh, I'm not European enough, I guess. Okay, last thing. There's this breaking news from Ireland. Very exciting. It's actually a Facebook story. But Linda, why don't you tell us about this town, part of Limerick, Ireland? What's the deal, Linda?
What is little town or little whatever called
It's a
Effin?
village.
EFFN, I believe. Yeah, village.
EFFIN, Effin.
I don't know if it even has the I in it. I
We've
can't
covered
remember,
it
but it's
before to give props to Alan. He reminded me that he's mentioned this before. But so what was the
yeah.
news today, Linda?
Well, Facebook finally broke down and allows people who are there to designate that as where they live. If you don't live there, but you're from there or you want to put it there, you can't. You have to actually be there to use it. That's my understanding of what I read about it today. Finally, and there's been a big sting. It's been going on for what, a few weeks now. And they finally, I heard today, I think it was, when I put the post up, they finally caved and let the people in effing Ireland say they were lived in effing Ireland. So
This is really only the second time we've covered some real effing news on the show. Because Alan covered it the first time, and this is this is great for effing.
well, I heard, what was it down in my post where I posted about it? Someone said, but what about bitching somewhere? There's some place called bitching, and are they going to allow bitching something? And then they listed a bunch of other ones that I'd never heard of, didn't know existed. So
I think this is some exciting effing news because we rarely get to do that. Alan and then Oleg and whoever else.
This is just, another effing excuse for people who, just want to effing censor themselves, just effing all over the place. I
that's
mean,
right.
come on. What, I've said this before. I've said it again. Stop messing with the names. Facebook's doing it. Google's doing it. You knew this is a hot button for me, Dan. So don't grin like that at me.
They can't see me grinning. See, I can control the. Well, they can in the Hangout
We,
version.
we
That
can have a segment on FN, called FN News.
Oh,
What do you think about
I
this?
need to tell you something, Dan, real quick about your profile. Effing,
Speaking of effing,
speaking of effing places that you have lived and where you live now, you do know you've got a list of all the places you've lived.
Yes.
On your profile, you do know you can designate your current area, don't
You
you?
know, this is funny. I am all the rage in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I am like the fifth most popular person living in Dhaka, and I don't
All
live there.
because you ran through there?
No, because it's at the top of my list. I didn't realize that. And I was getting all these ads from these wonderful people in Bangladesh. And I was like, well, that's nice. Nice to meet you, Rajneesh. And I was
There's
like,
a
what's
little
the deal?
doohickey. There's a little
Yeah.
icon.
And
Edit
so
and
this
click it.
guy, but he sent me a link. He's like, oh, you are very big in Bangladesh. I said, what are you talking about? I haven't been there in 35 years. And he said, since I was, 3, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, how many years? And so he said, "Oh no, look!" And he sent me this link, and I'm right. I think I'm right near a Nobel laureate from Bangladesh. I'm like all that over there, and
Well,
there's
my
this
point
site.
is you need to fix your effing profile so it's
Yeah.
correct.
Exactly.
That's
I've been in
Well,
Ireland, but I have not
with
been to
you,
F in Ireland. I've been to Dundalk and Berlin, or not Berlin. I've been to Berlin, Germany, but what's the big city in Ireland? I don't know.
I don't know. Irish
Dublin.
Spring
FN.
soap. I don't know. I've never been there.
The Emerald Isle. It's beautiful. If you love
Yeah,
rain,
yeah.
that's your place. But
No, but with your last name, Dan, it's a perfect thing to have a segment called FN segment.
um, I don't know.
The effing stink bug show.
That's right.
That's funny, but like
I
I'm
hope you
actually
know
listed
that
in Bangladesh.
for the sake of this show, I let a stink bug crawl up my curtain, and I kept thinking when the show is over, I'm gonna get it. It's disappeared.
How do you
I,
kill him? Because I have a number of candidates.
I stun it, and then I grab like 5 tissues and pick it up. I stun it. I don't squish it, and
How
then
do you stun him?
I just take the swatter and kind of like a midair knock it unconscious or knock it so it's upside down on the floor, and then I scoop it in like five
See,
tissues
Linda,
and
right
flush
there.
it.
Linda,
Hmm.
you need to get a webcam and you need to do a live presentation on how it's done.
I almost took a picture of it while we were talking. I really did because I was going to prove that I had one crawling over there on my curtain and I did not want to disrupt the show to kill a stupid stink bug. And if I was going to do it, I wanted to be on live video feed when I did it.
All right. Let me. We'll continue our discussion in the Hangout, which is streaming live and on Justin TV. But let me conclude the formal part. You guys hang on for a sec, and then you can
Okay.
excuse yourselves or stay if you wish. Okay. I want to thank so much. I really appreciate Linda. Give me the
Lawry.
Lowry.
Law, as in law.
Lawry, like British bus or truck. A lorry. That's what they
Kind
call
of.
it. It's a lorry.
Lawry.
Lowry.
Lawry. Well, however you say
Lowry.
law. Like, the law.
Lowry.
Legal law. Lawry.
I want to thank Linda Lowry for
Close enough.
Linda L for being here on the show tonight. I really appreciate it. As always, the hardcores here. We got Anthony and Alan and
Yeah, they're
Oleg. Bruce
hardcore
was
on
here earlier.
mainstream.
Oh, they're tough, man. They're just as
Yeah.
tough as they were tougher on me than usual tonight, which is good. Keeps me
Nice to
keep,
meet you, Linda.
Nice to meet all of you too.
they're great. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank folks who submitted the questions tonight. I think we got to everything just about. But anyway, this is great. We're here every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, which depending on what we're doing with our crazy clock system here in North America, is either midnight or 1 a.m. Right now it's 1 a.m. GMT and 5 p.m. Pacific time. But anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I'll be back next week, 8 p.m. Eastern USA, for another exciting edition of Google Plus Week.